The ones who are new this afternoon, my name is Christian. I'm the founder and CEO of Capptoo. And I said that in the morning, I said that in the afternoon everybody talks about now Screver and about CX and AI, and I really want to show this in action. And yesterday I found this presentation that actually looks like new, but it's actually 6 years old. When we launched Screver on the 26th of March, 2019 in Zurich, that was the intro slide. And I went through them before, I found them before, and that was our idea back then. They're not nicely designed, but we wanted people would do research, if at all. They would do research on paper. They would use SurveyMonkey and Qualtrics and all these other tools. And they don't do anything at all. That was our hypothesis back then. And still, most companies, they don't do much when it comes to CX. They may do an occasional employee survey once every 3 years, or they do an occasional customer survey, but then they're not acting on it. So that was back then the reason, even animation, that was the reason why we created Screver. These were all our competition back then. And I got asked what Screver actually means. And I guess even the people from my team don't know anymore what that means. Screver was in northern England and Ireland. It was a family name in the 18th century. But it was also a profession. So the Screverer was the writer to the court. It was the person in court writing everything down from all the parties. And based on that writing, fatal or non-fatal decisions were made. So that's why we founded the company and the product Screver. So I said this morning that Screver has become, as of the analysts, the market-leading feedback platform. And it's one thing to say that, but it's another thing then to show that. And if I'm going to show you now quickly the Screver environment, so you see what it actually means. I said this morning that the briefing to our team was easy. It has to be the most sexy platform in the world and best platform in the world. That was the briefing, and we achieved that. And I tell you now, I'm going to show you now what I mean by that. And where is Simo? Yeah. I'm going to quickly log into the MS Sports environment because I only did that last week. I was showed this by my team. And now we are live in the MS Sport environment. So they're running now a Polysport Camp, Berg, 2025 survey, 6 new responses, Snow Camp in Lenzerheide, something new. And now when you scroll down here, these are all the running surveys in MS Sports. I can now do this for minutes. To see that every single picture here is a survey that was used, where they generated insights to improve the journey of the children. That goes on forever because they've done more than 1,100 surveys so far. And as you said, I think 12,000 collected feedbacks from kids and families. So we didn't know this up to last week, that MS Sport has become one of our biggest customers. Because in terms of feedbacks, there are millions of feedbacks every year for them where they increase their business on. So very cool. Because we always talk about the big ones, the farmers and the Zweifels and so on, but it's a beautiful case, MS Sport. So now I'll turn this around. Can I do this all in? Yeah. No, oh good. I was able to do that. So I'm going to give you a quick glimpse into Screver. So we are now again in the platform. This is my environment. And also here I have hundreds of existing surveys. They're running or they terminated surveys, they were test surveys. It's endless, and there's not a single industry where you don't find very good templates for it. But I'm going to now jump into one that is called Focus Water. And Focus Water is a brand owned now by Rivella. They came up with a new flavor of the mineral drinks, and they wanted to test if the flavor is accepted by the market or not, or what they need to change. So we always start, usually depending on the target group, with some icebreaker questions. And what I want to show is not the question itself. I just want to show you that Screver is very animated. Whatever you do, it looks attractive. because no one wants to do another survey, And so if we ask to do a survey, there should be at least some kind of attractive and nice. And we researched that, we tested that. You can also have Screver in boring, especially for universities and research companies. You can have the non-animated view as well. But the research showed the more attractive it is, the more people participate in the survey, and they also follow through to the end. One of our lighthouse customers, it's nothing to do. It's more in the EX space, customer experience, employee experience space. That's the group of the Casino Baden, some casinos throughout Europe, and there we have a 97% participation rate from the employees, because they believe that the management does something with the data. They are really improving sincerely, and because the tool is nice. Also, this is what's called an NPS question, Net Promoter Score question. It always goes from 0 to 10, and then you have some people, you ask a question, it's all about loyalty. How likely are you to go to the session again? How likely are you to recommend us to someone else? If you click a 0, that's not cool. 0 is bad. And then if you click a 10, that's surely better. Then you're very positive about things. Somewhere in the middle, it's okay, but could be better. So we always ask about the context. Why is a person giving a certain number? Because we want to know why and more. And then we have an automation process in here that says you can define it however we want. If it's below 0 and 5, some people get notified, because if we know then who responded, we want to call up and at least find out why they did that, and then find a solution. And the same with the positives. So we also can call up the positives. There's also a lot to learn from them. So when I now go into, I'm going to make this a bit smaller. We're in what's called the administration mode. I said this morning that Screver is for the outside world, for the user, it's extremely attractive. So now we know more, but also for the administrator. And we have, again, Rich here, the gentleman who worked for our largest competition, for Medallia and Qualtrics. And he told me yesterday at dinner, he said, with Medallia, and that's a multi-billion-dollar company, you need to program to create a survey. And the reason why we won Europa Park, by the way, was they used to have a software. For Europa Park, we have 30 to 40 live surveys running throughout the park. And to create one, it used to take them a week. And with us, it takes less than half a day. So that's what I mean by it has to be attractive for the admin person too. And you see now within minutes, you can create the most complex surveys. So I'm going to say now that in here, I'm going to, for instance, duplicate this question. And I don't like these party things. I do love skulls. My team knows this. And I want to have this question somewhere on top. And everything is always saved in real time. When I now go in again, I can also change stuff on the fly. Even with running surveys in multiple languages, I can still change and add questions. And now we have my skulls. And we have that's called question types. We have more than 30 or 35 of those animated question types. But that's not why Screver is outstanding. But let me now say, okay, I want to create a new survey. I can now have one of our templates. We have a lot of templates for customer experience and a lot of templates for employee experience. You can then say, okay, I'm going to now select any kind of template. I want it's restaurant feedback or hospital feedback, patient survey. I see now in the template preview, there's 9 questions. It is available in English. I can now either use this template or even in here, I can click through the survey without opening it to see if it's useful or not. But I'm not doing this now. I can also say, okay, I create a survey from scratch. I have to decide whether I want to have a knowledge check. We call it a quiz module. We do a lot of awareness campaigns, global social media campaigns where we want to find out something. For instance, right now we're running a melanoma check. So we're running a global social media awareness campaign to make people aware of some symptoms they may have that could lead to melanoma. So once someone is interested to find out more, they end up on a landing page that we created, and then they will touch Screver, where they can do a test They can fill out some questions, and then depending on the outcome, they probably have to see a physician or not. And because we have integrated, it's a bit technical now, OneDoc, which is a platform for physicians, they can book directly an appointment with a physician. So then we use this quiz module for this. So then I have to say, okay, I can have the boring view if you want, and of course, everything can be anonymous and can choose the language. But I'm also not going to do this. I tell now Screver AI to create the survey for me. So I have to, at the beginning, I have to select, is it customer related, is it employee related? Let's say now it's customer. I have to pick, like in GTP, I have to pick some kind of industry I want. Let's say, for instance, telecommunications. And then I want to hear that, need to decide about the tone of voice. Let's go for enthusiastic. And I want to know which kind of questions I want to ask. And then I say, okay, give me a survey with 7 questions. And there's a big trend to go away from large surveys with 50, 60 questions down to rather asking more often and fewer surveys, and then acting on the answers versus having long-lasting surveys. So now Screver AI, based on these attributes, went out to the world and created that survey for me. And now I can say, okay, we have here an NPS question, is fine. We have here something with stars. I don't like stars, so I do something else. I'm not reading the questions now. But it's now a survey. I can title this somehow, saying, event. But I'm not going to do this. And then, so I've created a survey. Now I want to design the survey. Of course, we can use all the corporate design, corporate identity of any kind of company, using all the color codes. And I can choose any kind of background image. That's again important. It's a design feature. Again, if it's nicely designed, people participate more. Now let's say it's event. This is, we implemented here a database called Unsplash. With Unsplash, there are millions of free pictures that everyone can choose. So I'm choosing now this visual. So now I've created the survey, I have designed it, and then I want to translate it maybe, because this morning I told you we won Jungfraubahnen as a new customer, Jungfraujoch. They have around 50 different nationalities in the summer going up there. So, and for them it's imperative that, again, if you ask in the local language, you're much more likely to receive feedback. So it's an obvious, but still a lot of people don't do it because the software cannot do it. So we implemented here different language models. Now say we want to have this in English. We click the button, and now it's published in German as well, in German, sorry. Now I want to say, okay, I need the same in Italian. And now it's published in Italian. And the crazy thing is, we are the first ones, Richard, please tell me if I'm wrong. We are the first ones who integrated Hebrew and Arabic. And I tell you why. Arabic and Hebrew, it sounds easy, but it's from right to left. You have to reprogram the whole software and also the whole reporting. It's just one language, but it's a huge job to actually then develop this. So now we have translated the software, the survey, we have created, and then we have to distribute it. So now we say again, event Zurich. I give it any kind of link, Zurich. When I save it now, everyone who has that link will be able to do the survey. We integrate in all the social media channels, so you can automatically send it through WhatsApp or Telegram or LinkedIn. And of course, the other channels like email campaigns where a first question gets triggered inside an email. We embed it on a website. We have a QR code generator in here. And that's important because the way you design a QR code, you see the ones hanging around, they're nicely designed. We tested it again. If the QR code is nice, people participate. If it's not so nice, they don't so much. I'll give you an example. Give me a second. Yeah.
Sorry, Christian, just out of curiosity, probably the whole audience is interested in that.
Please.
What was your motivation to program it in Hebrew and Arabic?
Right. Because Screver is used in a global scale in more than 70 countries at the moment. And we had, for the first customer was Glacier Express. There we are on the train with Screver, and there we already had 10 languages and 2 Mandarin. And then with the usage of Screver, especially also in Eastern Europe, we got in Russian, we got Ukrainian, we got all the different languages. And at one point, we also went to the United Arab Emirates and to all the Arabic countries. And there, they don't want to do it in English. They feel more, even they can, of course, they feel much more comfortable in their own language. So right now, we're supporting 36 languages with Screver on the press of a button. Rich, can Qualtrics do this? Oh. See? So, and that was Viking Beer. Viking Beer is a startup from one of the countries up there. I guess, no, I forgot from where, but anyway, that's a QR code that Roman designed it. Was it you? Yes. Okay, one of Roman's team. So this is a Viking QR code, you know, and it attracts way more people filling in the survey than a boring white one. So that's where the symbiosis between the Capptoo agency, the designers, and Screver comes very well into place. So I go back to Screver. We talked about the QR code. Give me a second. And now it looks like this. If I publish it, and if this is now live. This is the survey I just created. This is the MPS question we had. And now I'm going to switch to Arabic. Now everything changes to the other direction. So it took me, I do this in 1 minute to create the survey. And of course, when we do, this is just a tool, this is just a software. You can do this with any kind of survey tool. Yes, we are a bit faster and it's more attractive, but the real value comes from when we start thinking with the customer about the questionnaire. You know, when we sit down in workshops, what do we really find out? What is the goal of the customer? What do they want to achieve? What do they want to improve? And we always force the customer, the moment they would ask a question, you have to figure out what you do with the answer. You don't ask the question if you don't want to make improvements, if you don't have the budget to improve things. So there's always hard discussions, but it's always for the benefit of the project. So, and now, that's now we created the whole thing with AI. And now if we go into the analytics part, Screver, it's all also analytics part extremely attractive. So the whole reporting is, all the dashboards are created on the fly automatically. With every person giving us a feedback, the dashboards of course change, the data changes. And we can export all the data into any kind of format. And of course, with a lot of the companies, few customers using Screver standalone. But with most customers, we integrate in any kind of system. With EWZ, we highly integrated is SAP. In Europa Park, we integrate with Salesforce and Tableau and Qlik. You don't need to use our dashboards, where you can. They're free, they're out of the box. We can also deliver all the feedback data into any kind of front-end tool, BI tool. Screver automatically is, Julian, yeah, go on.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, how deep are you going in insights? Because, like, it looks like these dependencies is just correlation, but how deep you look, because there is qualitative insights, and based on my experience, I know that quite many stakeholders prefer to read the text rather than look at the charts.
Okay.
So, how large contribution for you is basically insight section?
Okay. Bear with me. That's a very good question. So let me sign into another environment. What is it? Gex. Right. Now we are on the Glacier Express. And I need to see if this is still around. Let's go into the analytics of the Glacier Express. There are now at the moment on this survey 6,000 participants. This is the basic analytics, where people live, what kind of tools they used. Then the NPS score, of course, Glacier Express, they have quite a good NPS score. Even if the weather is bad, you then click on the promoters, you see who gave what kind of feedback. You can do the same with the detractors and then act up on it. And then we have the correlations, as you saw before. And Screver, when we have enough records in the system, they start to run correlations, dependencies between questions and answers. And there's always one, for instance here, how likely, MPS question, would you recommend Glacier Express to someone else? And before we start, how is your mood today? So we ask this question on the train. So it's negatively correlated. So that basically means if we would know who is in a bad mood in the morning, don't let them on the train because they're messing up our NPS score. So this is one fun part of it. But what we do also is what we use Screver for is auto-categorization and sentiment analysis. So that came from a project we've done for ZHW, University for Applied Science in Zurich, and they have a lot of text feedback, unstructured feedback that we need to some kind of make sense. And they had a team of ZHW people. They were looking for Excel files the whole day long for text and try to figure out some way of, because they could not use statistical tools because they are also user-friendly. So we said, okay, we need to find a solution there. So we implemented here Google AI for this one to extract meaning from text. So what we do is, so where did you board the Glacier Express, for instance? That's the question in the questionnaire. And if you click on it, that's not a good question for this purpose. Give me a second. How would you rate your onboard service? There were some, very unfriendly stuff. I never looked at this before. The tone is negative. So Screver AI identifies that this sentiment is probably negative with some kind of confidence factor, which we don't have. But here, with the next, we have a confidence factor of 0.14, that food is kind of neutral. And then he goes, let's do this one here. Very unfriendly stuff. You can't ask questions, especially about the food, okay? It's a negative sentiment, and Screver then puts this question into these groups, shopping, consumer resources, and so on. So these people, they get notified they have to change something there. That's one part of the analysis. And then, but I can't do this in here. Give me a second. Going back to another environment. Let's take this again. What we also have is what we call Get Insights. If you click now on Get Insights, Screver AI, again, takes all the feedback we have in the system and tells us, so what? Now what are we going to do? It's called the next best actions. So it's not something that people have to do, but it's a blueprint or some suggestions to the teams what they should do now based on those answers, if that makes sense. No, this is always personalized to the environment.
Okay, I was saying that personalized communication to the customer, but that's quite generic. Is that people are not personalizing communication on this survey?
So I didn't understand the question.
So there was when you click on Get Insight, it says first response was to get a better response, personalize your survey, right? But
okay.
That sounded very generic, right? And broadly like, you need to personalize.
Yeah, of course. We also train that language model. Of course, this is also just a demo environment. I cannot show the real ones of the customers. But we train the language model for these specific purposes, for the specific industries. Okay. Micha before talked about what's called in pharma adverse events. And adverse events is something, you have a headache, you take a headache tablet, you don't get nosebleed. That's an adverse event, an event that should not happen. And the pharma companies, they have to report adverse events within a certain time frame to the authorities and then act on it. So Screver is then used the language model to train these, for each pharma companies, for each therapeutic areas with their products, to train that language model about their specific adverse events. But yeah, that was generic.
Right.
Yeah. But to answer your question before, we are not a business intelligence tool, where you can drill down and drill through and drill up.
Back to Olga's question, I think can we see it like this in the traditional research world? We would have done sometimes a quantitative study to find out the hypothesis or less, what you think, and then we would follow up with qualitative research like focus groups and
Excuse me that I jump in, but it would be wonderful if everyone could hear you. So I bring you the microphone.
Oh,
if you could ask your
I
question
will try
again,
to make it shorter.
No, that's good.
So I was relating to the traditional research world where we would do often we start with qualitative research, but also sometimes with quantitative to find out are those hypotheses the right ones. And then we would say, okay, I guess this is what you do first. You say, we have some problem if someone has allergy and they have questions. This is if they don't get the right answers from the personnel serving in this train. Or one insight would be they throw the drink and then they don't come back. They think we are fine with it, but I want another drink. So we have two potential insights. And then you would suggest, or this AI Screver insight tool you had, AI tool, you would say, one of those next steps could potentially be to follow up with deeper research on those two topics. This is how I see it, no?
Yes, and that's
next
also...
steps.
Exactly, but so the next steps we have here in AI, it takes the information we have, it creates you a set of potential tasks you can do, but what we then always do, we sit down with the customer and we discuss the results, because AI doesn't solve all the problems, we still need to think. And then we discuss with the customers on, okay, what are the next steps now? How do we improve those next steps? What do we feed back to the survey participants, especially important when it comes to EX? And then we start improving. And that we do then with our agency work, if we can help the customer, or the customer does it themselves. And then later on, we feed back again, what did we really now do? What have we achieved? And if you do this, if you instill a feedback culture in a company, people actually, they love to give feedback. But most people don't, and then they ask questions, and they don't act up on the insights, and then you're in a mess. So, but we also do focus groups. If this is something, the path one wants to go, also fine. But yeah.
No, but I think this is, Olga, was this relating to your question as well, since we come from this world.
Yeah.
I think this will really, what you offer really speed up this big first step for us to say, where do we focus the money to go deeper?
Yeah.
I have just one additional question. It's amazing what I see. I'm really puzzled, I have to say.
Say it again so I can hear it.
No, I think it's amazing, and I'm puzzled what I see, honestly speaking. So there was a reason why I'm here today, because really you made my day so far. No, basically I'm the founder of Boho Wine, but it's not that I want to advertise for myself. I think soon everyone will know what we are doing. We are creating nothing else than the future of wine. Globally speaking, with an app that is coming out, wine experience app, bohowine.com, everyone can sign on gladly and become a wine angel. But having said this, reviews are going to be very important for us. Yes. It's going to be very crucial for us, because most review tools, for instance, today the leading wine app in the world, still today, Vivino, is basically the reviews are very lame, because people can write some review about wine, then they take the average of all the reviews over 5 years, knowing that every year the wine is different. But having said this, the winemaker, which is the key, the wine creator, because without the wine creator there would be no wine in this world, as simple as that, cannot respond to these reviews, you know. And this we want to change, meaning we want probably to use you, I can already tell you this, to really have this perfect review tool, like sort of like TripAdvisor, but in the wine world, when people come to wine events, that really the wine creator has the chance to react to what the wine angel is saying. Having said this, and now I'm coming down to my question after this monologue, is what is the entry point cost-wise? Meaning, will I be bankrupt tomorrow when I want to work with you?
If you start up, no, we find a way. You're lucky. I'm a big wine lover, and we just 2 weeks ago. Sorry, Richard, picking you again. We won Subway as a customer against Medaglia, and Dunkin' Donuts against Medaglia, for good reasons, because Subway, I haven't been for a long time into Subways. Until now, we had to, kind of. And they're revamping themselves. They want to change their reputation, they become better products, better experience. So we also do, we're measuring that and improving the guest experience of Subway and Dunkin' Donuts. And for them, we have different, or because of them, we have different kind of pricing models. We have our standard pricing where you pay a subscription fee every month and then for the whole year, and that starts at some reasonable amount of money. And then we have a licensing model where you pay per feedback. depending on the use case. And then it's a different licensing model for employee experience, where you usually pay per employee per month something. But we find a way. We are ourselves, we're running another few startups on the side. We're always testing and trying, and we're very human when it comes to this. It's our software, we can do the prices how we want. But we only want to deal with customers who actually see the value behind feedback, to improve the experience, And I guess that's what we do. That's why I find Vivino also not lame. I wouldn't say that word, but they could improve. I give you another really good.
I didn't say Vivino is lame because Joe Heine himself, the founder, so I cannot say this. I just think the experience, the user experience is lame. Not what Vivino is doing. It's awful. I don't find my own friends in Vivino. But I give you another good example. This is it's a really interesting one. We had a request from Europa Park then for a new feature. We are very good in the reporting part. All the reports are automated. And we give the data click to Tableau, to other dashboards, and then we had this report. We had to create a report where we collect all the unstructured feedback, so text feedback from all the hotels. There are 12 hotels, all the restaurants, all the bars, all the attractions as well, into one report, but only the negative feedbacks. And that report has to be sent at 6 o'clock, has to be sent. So we did that. We didn't know why we had to develop this, but they paid for it. And there's a use case we cannot use for any other else. And then I was invited because we became one of the top suppliers of Europa Park. And then we were invited by the family Mack, and they thanked us and so on. Then I learned that Roland Mack himself, he's 74 years old. In the morning, he gets up at 6, he reads his newspaper, then he sits there with the coffee, reading through that report, our report, for all the negative comments, and then he starts calling people. And then things get tough at the Europa Park, and they have to really improve things, It's a very practical use case. So anyway, that's Screver. Any other questions? Massa, you surely have a question.
How do you measure the success, like whenever the client is implementing your proposal or your
Just 1 second, it would be wonderful.
Thank you. So one question would be, how do you measure then the client's success once they implement the measures, once they go down the customer experience, route or journey, the
all
improvements?
Right. Can I go? Okay, I'm so glad you're here. You came late, but you came. So that's really important because, again, you can do any kind of survey, if any kind of company, but we are here to think and help the customer solving their business problems. And we always first look at the how might we question, the challenges, And I give you now a practical example. Amplifon, they're doing hearing aids, yeah? So at one point in my age, you probably find that you don't hear so well anymore. So you start Googling around, is there a hearing aid you don't see? And then at one point you're ending up at Sonovaland website or Amplifon website. And then you want to have more information, you hack in your email address, and in that moment you fall into their sales funnel. So, and we analyzed that sales funnel, and then we found out in the middle of the sales funnel, in step 5 out of 10, you end up with at the specialist practice, an Amplifon shop, where an expert checks your hearing aid. And if the hearing aid is not sufficient, you will probably walk out with a test hearing aid for 1 week. Yeah? And in that moment, when they walk out, they lose 50% of their deals. We found out because we analyzed the CRM system, all the data we had, 50% of the deals. And then the hypothesis was, how can we make it that we only lose 49% of the deals? Because that difference is a $2 million, two-digit $2 million deal on the EBITDA. So and then we said, okay, how do we do this? So then we implemented at that step a survey that you leaving the shop, that 1 day later you receive a survey, and there's simple questions. How was the service in there? Did they consult you the right way? Did you feel comfortable in there? Did you have to wait long? Is it comfortable, the thing? And what is perceived value for money? And then we know if the person is shopping around with the other hearing aid specialist or not. And then we create actions for the sales team then to phone up. So we achieved, and that's how we measure the success. You can have it in hardcore dollars, or halt dann in increased loyalty, in increased NPS score or customer satisfaction score or decreased customer effort score. There are different kind of measures, how we can measure that. But if you cannot measure it, don't do it. Yeah. But we help you find out how to measure.
Thank you.
And the NPS that I see a R right next to, so is it your own trademark?
The NPS? No, that's no, surely not. That's a worldwide. I think it was Boston Consulting Group who came up with this model 10 years ago or so. Yeah. No. But it's a measure. The typical measures is the customer effort score. If you call up Swisscom because you have a problem with your mobile phone provider and you want them to solve your problem and you're queuing for 20 minutes and they don't solve your problem, they promise to call back, but they never do, they have a very bad customer, they get a very bad customer rating from you. So the effort to solve your problem is huge, therefore the customer effort score. And there's the net promoter score, which is the loyalty of customers, and then is the customer satisfaction score. How happy are you, customer, of 1 to 5 or 1 to 7? But that's, as a statistician, I guess you are. It's still a philosophical discussion if you want to have a 4, 5, 7-point liner scale or not. And that was when I did my PhD, my research back then. When I checked all the tools in the world and I needed to have something efficient, and then I used Qualtrics for my research. I had all the data then, but I still had no statistical methods in there or calculations to actually then statistically prove or disprove my findings. So then I had to export the whole thing. I had to use data and SPSS to run the statistical evidences. And we want to have this all in Screver. We don't want to compete with them, of course not, but the most important 10, 20 statistical functions we need to have in the system too. That's on the roadmap.
I have a question about the wine, because it's interesting to me, and it is important to know what is the cost of doing this. But I think it's also really important to frame it in the context of what is the value of knowing why customers churn? What is the value of knowing if a customer is going to abandon their cart? Why did they stop buying wine from you and start buying wine from someone else? And it might not just be the quality of the wine. It might also be the degree of helpfulness of the staff. It might be difficulties on the website. And being able to detect those things and understand customer churn, customer effectiveness, is your advertising working, not working, or the email is not what I expected, gives you an opportunity to change the course of things. And so it's important to understand how much is this going to cost me to operationalize and execute. But there's also the notion of looking at what do I gain from knowing these things if I'm prepared to take action on them.
Yeah, the cost this cost question, of course, it always comes up, but it doesn't matter. It cannot matter because we are so much faster in creating our projects. Okay, where is Axel? Axel, not here. Axel is our head of professional services. Over there he is. We won the Jungfrau project last week, and he developed the project in 2 days. It was done. Natasha is somewhere here. There. She ran and she delivered the subway project in less than 1 day. So you might then choose another tool that is cheaper, or you choose Google Forms, whatever you want to do, but the project takes you then X times longer. So with Screver, you really save so much time for the survey creation part, for the distribution part, and especially for the analytics part as well. And then we have the brains in the company to tell you, we sit together and figure out what to do now with the results, with the insights.
And Christian, don't undervalue the insights aspect of your dashboard. That's special, that's unique. You don't see that in other places. You're not going to see it in Google Forms. You're not going to see it that cleanly and that easily. So that ability to understand not only what am I learning, but what could I do about it? What are my next most valuable actions to keep or earn a customer?
Yeah. And the value, when we talk about pharma again, like I said this morning, an example, when we run product launches for pharma across the whole world with the agency, where we launch a new drug for something, and how that drug usually was launched. You know, the pharma company spent billions of dollars in R&D, and then there's a phase when the drug is then in the last stage of the trials. then we kind of figure out that the drug will come to the market. And then the whole market access starts running when the pharma companies want to get the drug approved in a certain jurisdiction and reimbursed by the insurance companies. And then the patient journey starts, where with the awareness phase of the physician, with the education phase of the nurses and the physicians, and then also the patients, that they know there's a new drug available for them that would better their life. So then if you can handle that in any kind of customer journey, if you understand the journey or the patient journey, and you can then use a tool like Screver or anything else in our concept to obtain valuable feedback at any important touch points, at any phase of the journey, and then you generate those insights and you improve that part of the journey. This is then way, way, way more important than any kind of cost. Yeah? I'll give you one more example and stop talking. When it comes to employee experience, for instance, we did a project for Stadler Rail, they're making trains. And in the eastern part of Switzerland, they're making trains. And our concepts for employee engagement, they start from candidate experience and they go to post-exit. So we have that whole employee journey. And with candidate experience, and every company needs to have this. We know the last few candidates for a certain job, when they go back, when they go home after the interview, they receive a quick survey. How happy were you with the interview process? Did you get all the information you need for your thinking process, you know? And so we ask a few questions, but what it does to the company is that suddenly the one who interviews is prepared, because they know they get surveyed afterwards, and the potential employee thinks, "Whoa, they're taking it serious. My voice already matters." And then it's the whole employee engagement part where we do surveys at different stages, and also post-exit. There are a lot of people leaving the company. We don't want them to leave, and the research shows 6 to 8 months after the leaving, they find out that the grass was not much greener on the other side. So when then they receive a survey with questions in there, "Hi Paul, I hope you survived COVID well, I hope you're doing great and family is good, would you want to come back?" And the hypothesis was, if one comes back, one person, the whole project is paid. And of course, many more came back like this. So it's the thinking behind everything that is important, not the software.
Sorry, Christian, another question. How likely is it that customers using your Screver software, that the NPS is increasing? Or how unlikely is it that it continues decreasing? Okay, I give you a super question. Danke, Marcel. Okay, Salt. We ran a project for Salt, and what can I say? They're just bad. They're just bad. I can confirm. Exactly. So but they're all bad, But they're bad, worse than bad, because they just wanted to use Screver to tick the box. We have something in place. We measure feedback, but we don't act upon it. We don't improve. They know, and they said, the CFO told me, "Christian, I know that our front office people in shops are unhappy. I know this. I don't need to survey them. I know that, and we can't change it. We don't pay them well. So if the company you're working for a bank, that is quite often in the news, and if the bank in the management doesn't want to do this, then it's really hard to improve an NPS score. I'll give you another example now about Merck, our largest pharma customer. There, the NPS is in the annual report. They have to become better than the competition. And by the way, we do industry benchmarking with all these NPS and CSAT scores as well. And if the CEO doesn't achieve a higher NPS score than in the previous annual report, he doesn't get enough money. So it comes from the top. It has to come from the top. And it's a lot, Micha would not say, he's somewhere in here, it's a lot about change management as well. And it's also it's important to see this not as a one-off thing. I do now a survey. It's a really change in a culture to feedback management, to take it really serious. How are companies taking the employees more serious or the client surveys? Because if as a company, you need to ask your customers, right? And if you realize that you're bad, you need to improve your, service or whatever. Yeah. What is your experience there? So your competition, the big bank with 3 letters and it's red, they do an employee survey every 3 years.
And I said to the HR person in charge, it's pointless, stop doing this. And then it takes them a year to analyze the data. We did a project for the NHS in the UK. Horrible. Together with Novartis, actually this week, we are now a team in the UK at the moment with Novartis at that event. The NHS was measuring customer satisfaction with a Medallia company, a company who used Medallia to do research. It took them 9 months to obtain the data and then 10 months to analyze it. The world has changed in these 10 months. So to answer your question, depending if, I would say people take the customer experience part more serious because that's where the money is. The employee experience part, the good companies take it serious because that's where the happy people make the happy customers. But it's really a difficult question. There's no right or wrong. Yes, ladies?
Yeah, can I piggyback a little bit on the previous question?
Yes.
Who is the best counterpart for you in the company? So, how often in the ideal world you would like the CEO to enter the dashboards, and who is the best person to own that? Is it product owner? Is it customer experience team? Is it marketing team? Yeah, depends on the project, of course, but yeah.
Yes. So, which company are you from?
I'm from mobility company.
Mobility.
Yes.
D-Mobility.
Sister company.
Okay, because I produced a web shop once for mobility, but that's in 2007 or 8. Anyway, so the target audience for us, it's kind of in the marketing area for customer experience. But if you had Googled 3-4 years ago about feedback, surveys, customer experience, customer engagement, there was not much around. It's now only starting now to become a hype, become a trend to talk about experience, to take the customer serious. We tell you what you need to do. You just need to ask. So it can be. And the EWZ, for instance, they installed a whole team 4 years ago with 4 or 5 customer experience experts. So and then that's the target audience. But it quite often is also the CFO, because the CFO has the budget and the planning of the company. They know what's going on in the company. In the HR part, of course, it's usually the HR director or the CFO as well. But it can also be org development. In a university, it can be the lecturer. It's very diverse. Yeah. We haven't figured that one out. But you had another question?
No, I was relating to your question. I think they actually go hand in hand. A company that is not taking the employee survey seriously will also not take the customer service serious. And this is a culture thing, I think, in my experience in the company.
Yeah.
Because what you said, it can take 10 months to analyze the data, then it's likely also 10 months to present the parts you want to share with the employees.
But it's also about the authority one has. We have a customer, they're coming on Friday, they're called Schweizer Electronic. The HR woman she's a brilliant person, she's very strong, she's very close to the management, and she convinced the management that happy employees is actually a good thing. And and they're very good, but they become even better with them. And her use case is whenever it's a very specialized company. It's one of the hidden champions Micha mentioned this morning. And what they do is, in Europe, they are the leading company for traffic lights. Not the traffic lights, those ones, for the Bahnschranke. Railway crossings. All the railway crossings you see, all the visuals you see, and everything here comes from them. So they have a very good employee engagement score. However, what their problem is, they don't find people at the moment. Of course, no one finds good people. So they need someone, they put a job ad up, they get some application, they probably employ someone at one point. But her theory then was, no, we have the skills somewhere in the company. We don't need always to go outside to the market to find someone. So what we created with them is a model that goes live this week, I think, which is a career path management tool with Screver, where we have all the skill sets of all the people in the company in our system, and we match them with the skill set that are desired for the future, for the position. And then there's a delta. Either we have someone one-to-one that we can then approach, and maybe this person wants to have a career change, or he needs to be upskilled, maybe it's languages or something else. So then we have a delta and a gap, and then we suggest improvements or courses in order to upskill the person to a certain level. And that's smart thinking, and so their employee engagement is more important than customer engagement because they're kind of monopoly. Yeah? So it's always on the context and on the person with the authority.